This week the beans kick off. We harvested probably 2 bunches of beans like this over the last 6-7 days, and there's still so many over here. Um, I'm very happy with the way they're growing, especially I think they're called rattlesnake. Yeah, the rattlesnake beans. They're growing phenomenally here, and you can see they're already up the trellis and growing above the trellis. So beans are definitely a good crop to grow, especially in this spot here. They do like it. They do like it. And this is where the peas used to be last week, and I removed them all. And I actually planted more cucumbers. And the reason is my cucumbers are actually doing great, but they seem to have like an early blight sort of thing. I'll show you in a second when I go to the other bed. And it doesn't seem to be too bad, but definitely some of the lower leaves are not looking too good, and I'm afraid that it might be something else. And if it wipes all my cucumbers over there, I want to have a few backup. Plus, last year they kind of all stopped producing at the same time, and there was still plenty of time in the season for, there's plenty of heat left. I think I was picking tomatoes until December or something like that. So I feel like planting a few more plants over here will give me a little bit later harvest. When those plants over there are done, these will be going strong. And I actually, we eat a lot of cucumbers, so I don't think we'll have more than what we can take. These here are from the variety that we really liked last year. I think they're Corinto or something like that. It's a hybrid from Johnny Seed, and last year did great. It produces these great slicing cucumbers. They don't need a male and female. They're basically, all flowers are male and female or whatever they are, but they basically don't need to have male flowers to pollinate the female flowers. So all flowers have a cucumber behind them, and they all seem to just set fruit. So they produce very nicely. This guy over here is a radish, and last time I showed you in the bed next to you what they look like. Yeah, all this green stuff is New Zealand spinach. And if you've never grown New Zealand spinach, it has this slightly almost lemony flavor to it, but it is light. It's light, definitely like spinach. And that lemony, that acidic flavor that it has is from an acid. And if you're going to eat a lot of this, it's actually recommended that you blanch it first and throw away the first water. But this thing grows great in the middle of the heat, not a problem at all. And if you want to have a spinach substitute for the summer, the New Zealand spinach is definitely a good crop to grow. These tomatoes are my favorite this year as far as looks. These are black vernissage, I believe is how you pronounce it, tomatoes. And they were, I believe, a free seed from Baker Creek, heirloom seeds. So I'm trying it this year basically to see how it does. So far the plant I think has like 3 clusters of like 3 or 4 tomatoes like this one. So not impressive by any means, but it's all right. It seems to be forming more flowers, so I suspect there'll be more definitely. But nothing like the usual suspects, like this one, for example. This is usually what a cluster of cherry tomatoes looks for us. This is like a dozen or so cherries on a cluster, and they're just about to start ripening. Pretty excited about that. And for some reason I feel like this year the tomatoes are a little late compared to last year, even though I planted them pretty much at the same time. I don't know why I think that, honestly, but I feel like 4th of July last year we were harvesting tomatoes, at least a little bit of tomatoes anyway. But this year, you know, it's past 4th of July, and I think I've picked one or two sun gold cherries. That's about it. As you can see, they're definitely almost ready, but not there yet. But it's all right. I'm sure in a week or two we'll have more tomatoes than what we know what to do with. And as you can see right next to me are the peppers, but really are the tomatoes now. I still haven't killed these plants because just look at them. They have so many flowers. I mean, I'm pretty sure these are sun golds, or either sun golds or super sweet 100s, which they all produce an insane amount of cherries. So, but they look like, at least this one looks like super sweet. Sorry, sun gold. This one looks like super sweet 100, and yeah, I know they're probably not exactly the same plant because of cross-pollination, blah blah blah, but odds are they're probably the same because the way the tomato flower is, it almost always self-pollinates. It's very hard for it to actually cross-pollinate in, you know, even in a situation like this where, you know, the flowers are right next to each other, because it's just the wind that's shaking it that's enough to pollinate these flowers. It's not impossible, definitely, but usually they are pretty true to the parent plant. And it's pretty obvious here by the leaves of this plant compared to the sun gold over there. They look pretty much identical. So we'll see what happens. The peppers here, the pepper behind it, the pepper plant right behind this, is a cayenne pepper, and it already has 2, 4, 6, has like 6 little cayennes on it. They are peppers that are actually producing fruit, so that's nice. I mean, I'm still on the fence what I want to do with them, but I might actually remove some of the tomatoes depending on how the peppers are doing next to them. But so far, you know, I'll just let them be, and maybe I'll just let nature fight it out and see which plants actually survive. Odds are the tomatoes will, but we'll find out. Yeah, that's kind of here. Behind them, the cucumbers, as I said, are doing great. And the strawberries here behind me, we actually picked our first strawberry, and it was delicious. It was very nice. And the cucumber melons are starting to form so much fruit. Let me get you on the other side and show you. Some of these leaves are not really doing very well. These are the cucumbers that I was talking about, and this specific one looks like it's a bug, but you know, some of these ones at the bottom, this definitely looks like early blight or whatever it is called. And we did have a lot of rain for a few days, so that's probably why. But you know, the top leaves seem to be doing all right. Usually this is not the end of the world for the plant. And we've been picking cucumbers quite a bit from these plants already. I believe we've picked about a dozen cucumbers this week. They taste great. And the plants are pretty vigorous. And as you can tell, this is 6 feet over there, so you know, no complaints on the cucumbers this year. And here the cucumber melons, these little guys are actually starting to grow very nicely. I mean, as you can see, they're still pretty small, but there's some that are bigger, and there are a lot of them. I mean, just underneath here there is another one. It's like every few inches there seems to be one, and there are multiple vines coming out of each plant. I mean, just in a glance here, I probably see 24 little fruit, maybe more, forming. Well, not forming, but formed, you know, of this size. And then, I don't know, like a million more that haven't formed yet. And the interesting thing is, here there is only one plant, but, you know, like this. But let me show you what happens a little bit further up. So this is what happens further up you go. There are 2, 4, 5 or 6 little flowers coming out of this cluster, and I don't know if these are all going to produce fruit or not. Maybe these are just the male flowers versus the female flowers, but if they do, this is going to be ridiculous. And even though even without these clusters of flowers, there's still so many fruit on these 3 plants over here that it's gonna be great. And the reason I say that is because I don't believe I've actually let any of these grow to full size yet, because I tried them the first time when they were just a little bit bigger than this, and they're great. If you like cucumbers, and cucumbers with lemon vinegar, in some kind of a salad, acidic salad, you will love these. They taste like cucumbers with just the faintest hint of lemon in them. They're definitely seedy, but not too bad. They're pleasant to eat. The skin is not too tough. Definitely a very, very cool plant to grow. I have a feeling it's gonna get a permanent spot in the garden, and I really hope it doesn't stop producing anytime soon, because these are great little snacks. I'm sure that these little guys with a few cherry tomatoes, some feta cheese in a salad, and some olive oil, oh man, that is gonna be a great salad. Yes, I know I said I'll be removing this garlic, and it's definitely done. It's not gonna be any more ready than this, and I haven't done so. So I promise to do it for next time. But meanwhile, let's just pull one and see what it looks like. So the way I do it is I kind of clean up around it and then go with a fork thingy underneath and then lift up to release the roots. And usually it works pretty well. And this is a nice head. This is actually better than I expected. This is a soft neck variety, so this is a decent size for a soft neck. And the reason you want to lift from underneath, you don't want to just yank it, is because you want to leave as many wrappers as you can. That's your protection. And yeah, this is actually pretty good. I will probably pick the rest tomorrow, and of course I'll film it, and then we'll see how it is. And there's a giant exit for a chipmunk right in the middle of the garlics over there, so we'll see. And I'm doing a little experiment here. Look at this guy. It's beautiful strawberry. Maybe 2 more days, 3 more days. But I'm doing an experiment with these. I'm not actually going to cover these. I want to see if now it's late enough in the season that birds have plenty of other food to find and they're not going to bother these guys. I have a feeling that they would have picked them by now if they really wanted to. That doesn't mean they're not going to pick them, of course, the moment they turn red. But I'm gonna leave at least one, probably this first one, to become red like this. And if it does, then I'll probably just not bother covering this guy. But obviously, if this strawberry disappears, then this is getting a permanent cover. So we've been picking beans, strawberries, 1 or 2 cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, garlic, and I think that's about it. And herbs, obviously, from the beds so far in the last week. So definitely good stuff. Oh, we've actually been picking raspberries and blueberries. I didn't show you the beds really specifically. They're doing fine. They're growing just fine. The raspberries appear to be just about done, but the blackberries have a lot, and I haven't really picked any in the right time because I seem to pick them too early, and they're just a little bit too sour. Still tasty, but just a little bit too sour. And the raspberries, our baby Alex loves them. The blackberries, they seem to be a little bit too seedy, so we kind of haven't given any to her yet. But raspberries, definitely something she loves. Definitely recommend something like this if you're not doing it. It is, first of all, it's a great excuse to be outside. You get your hands dirty with, good stuff. You're not working on oil or, metals and some other toxic craziness. You know, it's just dirt. It's healthy dirt. You get to pick, you know, delicious products out of your garden, and you know, it's one of the few things that almost everybody is guaranteed to enjoy. I can't believe somebody wouldn't like, you know, the fresh fruit. And it's not that much work, especially if you take the time to put drip irrigation in, which I highly recommend because that's what I have. Then it's great. It's a great time to be out here, with one exception, mosquitoes. But I basically try to avoid to be out when, you know, they're active in the morning, early in the morning or late in the afternoon. But that's about it. Exciting times are coming for tomatoes. Can't wait for them to pick up. And I'll catch you next week. See ya.